this astaxanthin supplement, I hear it's 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, 100 times stronger than vitamin E, and 800 times stronger than CoQ10?
Yes, astaxanthin supports joint health, memory health, even anti-aging and immune health. This Hawaii brand delivers 3 times more nature-identical astaxanthin to your body and is a better buy than the competition. It's called Xanthicin. Safely manage your inflammatory health with Xanthicin. It's pure and highly absorbed, providing greater benefits. Visit getxantho.com and these retailers.
All right, episode 18 here on Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthicin. Big mahalo to our other sponsor, Spectrum Mobile, as well. It's the final episode of 2021, a year that seemingly would never end, a season that has warranted a documentary series for the University of Hawaii football team, and it is kind of over, I guess, although there are all these developments coming out of the roster that we will get into here. And holy smokes, where do we begin? Jordan Helly, Hunter Hughes back with you for another episode of Hawaii Football Now. Hunter, we always, we record these things usually in the middle of the week. We come into the week thinking we have a game plan. We think we know what we're going to talk about. And then I don't know, of the 18 episodes, it's probably changed half of the time by the time we actually get to recording because of injury news or developments, or sometimes some midweek awards pop up. Those were kind of the fun elements that we had to work into the show, maybe a little last minute. But lately it's been departures, it's been transfers, it's been pilikia on social media, it's been canceled bowl games, it's been a bowl berth. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with all of this. But let's start on a happy note. Hunter, how was your Christmas? Before we get into it, because I get a sense that the tone of this podcast isn't going to be all that cheery. So, yeah. How was your? Did you get any good presents? How was your 25th, Hunter?
Yeah, appreciate it, Jordan. Christmas was fun over here on the mainland. We actually scored some great weather in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was 72 degrees on Christmas Day, and so we've actually been playing a bunch of golf. It's a lot of fun. Christmas was great. We have a new niece in the family. My brother's
Awesome.
Daughter is 18 months. And so Christmas completely revolves around her now, which honestly is way more fun than what did I get? What do I need to return? What gift card do I act like I'm thankful for? It's way more fun when you got a little kid running around stoked on Christmas. So that was definitely for us. How about you, man?
Yeah, same. I've got some nieces and nephews as well. Little kids make Christmas so much better. Like, they bring back the joy I think you had as a little kid. And the best part about Christmas was like a Nerf gun my nephew got, and we just been playing with that for the last week. So yeah, no complaints here. It wasn't even my gift, but he likes to share it with me. At least he's young enough still. He's in kindergarten.
Nothing
so that's
quite like shooting a relative with a Nerf gun. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I think we've gotten scolded a few times, but what are uncles for, right? You're supposed to get them in trouble. So yeah, that was a fun Christmas, and I just usually kind of wait to see what the nieces and nephews get for their presents and see what I can.
That's cool, man.
Jordan, myself.
You bring up a good point from earlier, man, about the week in, week out kind of rhythm of our show, and to our loyal listeners, you know this. For the regular part of the year, we had a really good rhythm of talking about the game coming up, the previous game, talking about injuries, maybe accolades or awards. This last month, Jordan, it seemed like whatever we recorded, the next 2 days were completely different from what we had just recorded and what we had just talked about. It was almost like, hey, tune in for the show, but what you're going to hear in the next hour from either Rob DeMello or Steven Sy, somebody from local news, that's not actually current any longer. So it's been a wild last month for University of Hawaii football.
Yeah, we've had to re-record episodes. If it wasn't Christmas Eve, we probably would have had to record last week's episode because, just like less than 24 hours after our episode dropped, the word that Hawaii was out of the Hawaii Bowl came down. So there's that, right? I mean, after a month of turmoil, we thought we were getting one final game of the 2021 season. We talked about it last week, kind of a bridge game culminating the current season, but also very much a preview going forward of the 2022 season. But not so fast, my friends, right? Like more plot twists. You know, hours after announced that the Hawaii Bowl was canceled because the UH was pulling out due to COVID issues. All kinds of rumors swirling around exactly how that played out, how many guys were truly available. You know, we hope that everybody who tested positive at some point is okay, healthy, and all right coming out of that. And then you get the whole mess of how that works contractually, and it's a made for TV game, and the TV folks not happy. And Memphis, I was at Farrington for the state football title games on Thursday, the day before the Hawaii Bowl, and I was there early and watching Memphis wrap up practice because they were using Skippadia Stadium basically as their home site for practices to get ready for the tournament. And they were sort of wrapping up, like they had already gotten off the field, but their equipment crews putting all the things away, right? You got the tackling dummies, you got the pads and all the balls and everything, and they're packing up a big truck, and the Memphis players are getting like their bento lunch, and they're lining up to get in the bus. And I think there were still some personnel around Farrington still wrapping up. I think the team buses had left, and then you start getting the text messages, you start getting the notifications, words start swirling. It's like, oh man, could there be anything else? Right? What's next? Like you just get that feeling like what else comes? And don't worry, there's more. We'll get to that. That came in the aftermath. But it denied us a chance to see Calvin Turner for a final time. It denied us a chance to see some of these great seniors one final time, or guys playing their last game in a Hawaii uniform, including guys who have some eligibility left. And again, well, there's a lot more to talk about here. But Hunter, what did you make of the news of the Hawaii Bowl cancellation? It just seemed, and this is me being such a pessimist and all, but it just kind of seemed like a fitting way to have this season end.
Totally.
Right? With the highs and the lows, and there were some real low lows, and there's some real high highs when it came down to it. Like there were some real bright moments during this season, but for a game that people were going to get excited about, that maybe offered a reprieve for the program with all of the turmoil, a chance to keep those guys in the building, a chance to construct a foundation moving forward. And then the game doesn't even happen because of maybe circumstances out of their control. Like it just seemed like a fitting end to all of this.
It seemed like it was written as such. It was on script, if you will, for our season to end in that sort of a way. You're exactly right, Jordan. If you look at our season as a whole, we beat a ranked Fresno State team. They were number 18 at the time. They came home, or they came to our home turf. I believe that was homecoming for us too. And we beat them at home at Ching Complex. I remember like talking to players and support coaches going, guys, I really believe that was one of the most monumental wins in the last 10 years for UH. I really felt that way. And then other than maybe the last two games of the season, that was kind of the high point, Jordan. That was it. And then when you look at the guys that have transferred, and then the controversy over our coaching staff, and then the national articles that are being written about our program. I mean, it's rare, if ever, that University of Hawaii athletics gets put in the national spotlight. And so if that ever happens, that means something is going on. And then throw in there our bowl game. We happened to fall into a bowl game, which was out of nowhere. We had a losing record. We were 6-7. We were one of those random teams that got put in there because they didn't have enough teams. We get the Hawaii Bowl. They want us to play in our own bowl game. And then come around to actual bowl game time. We had a month of preparation for this, Jordan. A month of preparation from knowing we're going to play to actually game time. And the day before, literally the day before, I remember sitting here in Tulsa, Oklahoma on ESPN, and on the bottom of the screen, it says, tomorrow, Hawaii Bowl, Hawaii versus Memphis, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I was stoked. I was stoked to see the boys. And then I start getting text messages. Unbelievable, man. I was blown away. I was like, I first think about the guys. I think about the players, everything that they've had to go through the last couple of years with COVID. Let's just start there. Let's stay with COVID. It's been just I can only imagine, just so brutal, one thing after the next. And are we going to have a season? Are we going to have a full team? Who's healthy? Who's not healthy? Just a really simple kind of day by day. Am I okay to go to practice? Is it safe out there? And then now that we have a season, are there going to be fans? Oh, there aren't fans. Now there are. Now these fans can't drink or have food. It's just a circus. It's been one thing after another for those guys. And Jordan, my heart broke for him. It really did.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And I know you're still in touch with a lot of those guys, and you know them on a very personal level, and just that roller coaster that you talk about, right? And all that they have been through, this saga over the last couple of years for reasons largely out of their control in a lot of ways, things that have just put them behind the eight ball. And then I just think about, right, and you touched us on a little bit, the fact that they thought their season was over. And the only reason their season continued is because ESPN created another bowl game. Like they just pulled the bowl game out of thin air. Nobody saw that coming. And guys were leaving the building. Some guys never came back, right? Guys entered the transfer portal. Other guys just said, I'm done. A lot of them came back, and I give those guys a ton of credit. And they were ready to put in the work. They did over the last 4 weeks. You know, there was word that strides at least were tried to be taken within the building, whether it was, you know, meetings with the athletic director, whether it was leadership councils formed, whether it was, you know, some self accountability had by the administration and coaching staff. Like some of those things took place, and then you get to the point, it's like, okay, look, we've kind of trudged ahead for an additional month when a lot of these guys could have been out of there. They could have been back home. They could have been with families. They could have been, you know, enjoying some things, moving on with their future, planning things out. And then, you know, 2 days before Christmas, you know, this all comes again. And so you don't think you're playing anymore, but you are. And then you think you're playing now, and then you're not. And so it's like, man, there's just a lot to ask of these guys, everybody involved, including the coaching staffs, right? Their families are with them the whole way. And they're the ones that have, you know, different kind of work over the next kind of a month, as opposed to maybe focusing on next year completely, recruiting completely. Like it's just the uncertainty that has been thrown their way is really incredible. And for them to kind of have to weather this the entire season within, and really just within the last month, I give these guys a lot of credit, and it was a major disappointment. Like whoever's at blame, maybe nobody's at blame, right? Because you just, I mean, it's the virus, everybody sees the numbers now and the way this thing is going with the latest variant and how contagious it is and how fast spreading it is. But yeah, just the fact that, you know, again, at the 11th hour, they found out they were going to play in a bowl game and extend their month for the season, and then basically at the 11th hour, it was decided that nope, they're not going to play in it anymore. So it's just, I just feel for these guys and how much they've had to put up with, and where things are at right now. And so it's pretty interesting to see how it'll unfold. And then you get a lot of answers, or at least more answers right away, right? Because after the bowl game, and it appeared to be a lot of these guys, I mean, not a lot of these guys, but a handful of players, much like we saw after the end of the regular season, had decisions to make. And we are seeing some of those decisions play out publicly. That's just the nature of the thing when you deal with the transfer portal. And first it was Nick Martiner, right? He became the next guy to enter the transfer portal. Another offensive guy. So it kind of seems all right. Like, look, they're losing a lot on that side of the football. And to be quite fair and candid, that side of the football was where the majority of the question marks arose from throughout the season, right? The defense was prolific.
Not even debatable. Like,
right,
so clearly on that side of the football.
Yeah, and so a lot of those questions and issues, and who should be calling plays and who should be running this offense and things of that nature. And so the majority of departures you saw, you know, at least the high profile ones were on that side of the football. Chevin Cordero, Day Hunter. Now we see Nick Martiner. It's like, all right, you know, maybe there was something there on the offensive side of the football, but for the most part, the defensive side of the football, when you're talking about some of the big stars of this football team, you know, remained intact, at least throughout the bowl month. Cameron Lockridge was one of those guys initially, right? He's one of your corners. So that was maybe your most high profile guy. You had Kai Kaneshiro, who was essentially a starter at safety, also leave the team prior to the Wyoming game, prior to the end of the regular season. So you were talking about, you know, basically two starters on defense as well, but nothing of the profile nature of your starting quarterback and guys like Martiner and Dede Hunter, I would say. Hunter, including the fact that he is a Todd Graham recruit. But then the next big bombshell, right? Darius Muasau yesterday, and we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. Darius Muasau, like he is the second of the three captains from this past season who are transferring. He and Chevin Cordero. Then you got Jonah Laulu, who's a stud, right? This guy's a stud. Justice Tavai, another guy on that defensive line, a legacy type guy, right? His brother Jelani coming through this program, and so now all of a sudden it seems like deja vu all over again, because I think the monumental breaking point was Cordero transferring about a month ago, and now the fact that Darius Muasau is transferring, I think, has basically elicited a very similar reaction. Because look, this is not just a guy on the side of the ball that was struggling, right? The offensive side of the ball. This is Darius Muasau who shined in Todd Graham's War Dog defense. This guy was a two-time All Mountain West Conference selection under Todd Graham. And I know he was basically starting as a freshman under Rollo, but he was a stud in Todd Graham's defense, a productive stud as well, right? Not just showing some flashes, but over 100 tackles in both seasons. He's a guy who, you know, in a lot of ways is kind of the defensive equivalent of Chevin Cordero. He's the local boy who stayed home, developed into a star after being more or less under-recruited, especially Darius, right? And these guys, humble, quiet, went out and did the job. You can argue Darius has had a better tenure under Todd Graham than Chevin has, but there are so many similarities. Like, these guys are captains, they're local kids, they keep their head down, they're widely, I think, you know, celebrated, at least up to this point, by the local fan base. And now he's gone as well. And so if a guy like Darius Muasau is leaving from that unit that was top 5 in the country in turnovers, that was a captain, that is a local boy, that has all the ties to the community, if he is leaving, then, like, I mean, it's kind of undeniable that something's wrong, right? This isn't just a transfer portal thing, even though the statements put out by the athletic department and Coach Todd Graham sort of basically blame the transfer portal. I think at this point, like, it's hard to really keep arguing that point that, look, hey, this is just normal. It's the transfer portal. These things happen. Like, look, you're talking about like 7 starters basically, and on both sides of the football, and guys that can play that are leaving and leaving basically right away. The guys who thought that the season was over left right after the end of the regular season. And these guys who were holding out for the bowl game are gone within 3 days.
Yeah, Jordan, this, if Chevin Cordero was the dip in the market, then Darius Muasau leaving was the bottom dropping out of the market for Hawaii football. I think it might even be 5 times greater of a loss than even Chevin. And, you know, Chevin's our quarterback. Quarterbacks are always going to get a little bit more attention than defensive players. But if you ask anybody on that team who the leader of that team was, it was Darius. Even though he may not have been a very vocal guy, he was the backbone of our defense. That's another primary leadership position, just by position, the middle linebacker. And then someone with local ties, had other offers, chose to stay here to return pride to Pride Rock under the Rollo era, obviously. But him electing to leave, it is so much louder than just a quarterback transferring in conference. I mentioned it earlier in this podcast in previous weeks that each player's experience on the team is going to be different. I cited my own experience as a walk-on, had to prove my way every inch of my journey to remain a player. But then when you get a guy like Darius Muasau, who is a 2-time Mountain West all-team selection, maybe the best linebacker in the Mountain West, guaranteed going to get a shot at the NFL. In my opinion, the best linebacker we've had in the entire time I've been around the program. And Jelani Tavai is a great friend of mine. He might even say it too. The sideline to sideline speed that this guy has is so elite. He is going to be a force. You know that his experience on the team is going to be amazing, especially with a coach like Todd Graham, whose success is literally hitched to the wagon of a guy like Darius Muasau. You know he treats him better than any other player in that football locker room. And when he leaves, your prize pony, the guy that's going to help you get it done on defense, you have a serious problem, because it has nothing to do with your ability to coach the entire team. You lost the relationship with that guy. That's on you. It has nothing to do with everybody else. His experience with that coach right there, I think, is so telling of the type of coach that we have in Todd Graham, the type of program that he runs. They are going to say it's transfer portal this, it's transfer portal that. Yes, to an extent that is true. Players have more power now than they ever have, but there is something seriously wrong if we are losing. We counted it before the podcast, Jordan. I think we're up to 8 starters combined on offense and defense now that have entered the transfer portal. That is huge, man. It's really sad to see.
Yeah, I think it's, I think we're up to 12 total in the portal. That doesn't include Kai Kaneshiro, who essentially, I don't know if he's terming it a retirement, but left the program, and I believe he stated publicly that he doesn't continue to play, or he doesn't plan to continue to play elsewhere, or back at the University of Hawaii, right? Just in general. And so, yeah, I mean, you're talking about basically 7 starters in the portal, and then an 8th in Kai Kaneshiro, who has left the program. And so that's 5 guys, by the way, on the defensive side of the football. So 5 of your 11 come from that side of the football. Or excuse me, 5 of your 8 starters come from that side of the football. Then you've had some other departures, guys like Ote Baker as well, who left, another defensive lineman who left after the conclusion of the regular season. And so, like, there are, you can make the argument, I think, that some of these guys have bright futures, right? And bigger opportunities out there. And so, even if it was all hunky-dory at the University of Hawaii, like the opportunity for Jonah Laulu, like he's already posted, he's gotten offers from Miami, Mario Cristobal. He's gotten offers from Virginia Tech, University of Washington, I believe. Like multiple Power 5 teams have extended an offer to Jonah Laulu. And so for a guy like that, it's like, okay, look, man, if you've got an opportunity to go play big-time football, even if things were great here at Hawaii, like you could understand that. You could understand that.
The
Who
same
knows
for
where Derek...
Muasau will go Power 5. Absolutely will.
I would agree, right? I would think that would be the case. And so, hey, that may be. And maybe these guys are just looking at advancing their careers, and it has nothing to do with the University of Hawaii. I think that may be a little naive, but I think you can at least point that out, right? I think it's fair to point that out. We don't know exactly where he or Tavai are going to end up. All indications are that Lulu is definitely taking one of these Power 5 offers, right? I would be kind of surprised there. But you're talking about a guy like Cameron Lockridge, who ended up at South Alabama, right? We've hashed this out in previous episodes. Chevron Cordero's in conference at San Jose State. Dede Hunter's going to Liberty, and we've talked about all of that. But so, for maybe these defensive guys, maybe it's a little different. Maybe they are indeed advancing their careers at a more high-profile, big-time program. And so that's basically what I think you can read between the lines when you look at the statements. I just wanted to read it because I didn't want to misquote either David Matlin, the athletic director, or Todd Graham, the head football coach, right? And Matlin's comments, and this was released via the Hawaii football Twitter account 21 hours ago, basically a day ago. And Matlin said, quote, "Unfortunately, the transfer portal has become a reality of college football. We're no strangers to it. The amount of transfers is disappointing, however, not unusual compared to many other schools around the country, and even within our own conference. We can't ignore that there are areas that we need to improve on. Coach Graham and I are in constant contact and are always looking for ways to make the program better. To all of our supporters in future, current, and past Rainbow Warriors, we keep the faith because we're working tirelessly to maintain a program that you can be proud of. To our transfers, we wish you the very best. You will always be a part of the Hawaii football family," end quote. And then just below that, they also posted a statement from Todd Graham, head coach. Quote, "As a staff, we realized that the transfer portal would bring challenges to our team. The portal has been a challenge to many teams this season. We are disappointed to lose any member of our Warrior family to the transfer portal. We appreciate the contributions they have made to the team and wish them the very best in their future. We are grateful for all our players and thank them for their contributions to our program. Moving forward, we are continuing to listen, learn, and improve daily. We are focused on developing the players on our 2022 squad and growing closer as a team. We are supplementing our roster through recruiting and the addition of players through the portal. We want our fans, supporters, and the University of Hawaii family to know that we are working tirelessly to build a championship team that they can be proud of," end quote. Again, that was the quote from Todd Graham. And so, curious your reaction to those statements, Hunter. And look, the portal's a reality, right? That's the nature of the beast. All these programs are dealing with it. This isn't unique to the University of Hawaii. What I do think is a little unusual are the number of starters and the fact that they put out a statement at all. Like other programs that are dealing with transfers, like those programs aren't putting out statements like this. Craig Bowl, I will say, from Wyoming, he kind of candidly spoke. I don't think it was a prepared statement or anything like that, but Craig Bowl sort of spoke of the reality of it and basically put it out there in the ether that, hey, look, Wyoming, just the way that they sit in the landscape, like they will be looking heavily at junior college transfers and portal guys because that's just the nature of the beast. And he talked about, hey, look, that's the reality. We bring in these high school guys, we develop them, and then, a lot of them leave. And so he said that's just kind of where they're going to turn their focus. That's not really what's coming out in the tone of these statements, I would say. I would say it's a little different. But Craig Bowl is a guy who sort of spoken to the nature and the reality of college football in regard to the portal in conference, just a little parallel there. But the fact that they had to put these statements out there, that's a little unique. That's a little unusual to me.
Were they right next to each other when they both wrote them, or did they write?
They were released at the same time.
Oh, okay, yeah. We better change this sentence over here. Oh, tirelessly. I like that word. I'm going to use that word too. It's almost the exact same statement, Jordan, from both guys, and I get that they're probably doing everything that they can. When you release a statement with very similar words, it comes off insensitive. It comes off like you don't really see or experiencing or are owning up to something like this. If Todd Graham came forward and just was humble and just really owned this and was like, I blew it. I realized that we've made some mistakes. I'm really wanting to improve. And I think that goes for our entire football program. I want to own what I need to own right here. I don't want to blame other people. I'm the head guy. Things start and end with me. Hawaii, I'm here. My contract is for the next 3 years. How can I best serve you guys? That attitude right there would completely change this. It would change it for our fans. It would change it for our boosters. And most importantly, it would change it for the remaining guys in that locker room to hear and see that this coach actually cares for them. I appreciate them saying something. I think you have to, with all of the craziness going on, especially with our fan base on social media right now. It's an absolute circus. And for those listening, we don't blame you at all. Jordan and I are right there with you. I think just the word that came to mind whenever you were kind of going over everything that has transpired and thinking about families involved here, families of players, families of coaches, the word unstable comes to mind. It's just a very unstable environment. The trying to field the team with COVID, trying to field the stands with COVID, trying to figure out travel stuff, our bowl game, not having a bowl game. Now we're having a bowl game. Now we're not having a bowl game. Now all of our players are transferring. It's madness. It's madness, Jordan.
Yeah, and we don't know if it's done yet, right? We don't know if there are going to be more departures over the next week or so as we kind of get into it. I mean, this is kind of the heat of the transfer portal as we head towards signing day coming in February, the next signing period, especially for the high school recruits. So, yeah, it is unstable, I think is a great way to put it. It's tumultuous. Like there is not a lot of stability within the program right now. And yeah, I'm with you. Like the statement thing, like I'm not a big fan of just the pre-written issued statement when it comes to stuff like this. It's got its purpose, don't get me wrong, but there is something wrong, right? There is something going on with the program. And I know they've sort of had to deal with this for the last month or so, but this is just the latest big development, and it is a big one. I mean, you're talking about big, high-profile guys that are deciding to leave the program. And so if you're going to say something, and again, it would have been kind of par for the course for a college football program to not say anything. Like they could have not said anything. That wouldn't have been unusual for a lot of these schools and whatnot. But to me, and I don't think this is unique to Hawaii or anything, and maybe this is me just being on my high horse or something, but if you're going to say something, like I just kind of wish it would have been a little more candid, like a little more, like just do an interview or something like that, put it out there, sit down, have a conversation with somebody in the local media, or via the official Hawaii channels or something like that, press conference of some sort. Like that to me would have carried so much more weight, which I think sort of echoes what you were saying, Hunter. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it just, the
for all
prepared
the
state,
fluff, for all
yeah,
the
the prepared
fluff that
statement thing just doesn't really hold a lot of water for me in a situation
yeah,
like this.
and fluff doesn't work in Hawaii. It's just not going to. It's too small of a community. Like we got to speak real to each other. And for all the fluff that we put up with government officials for the last couple of years, with COVID protocols, this or that, to get fluff from our athletic director and our coach acting like, oh, this isn't that big of a deal, it's kind of a slap in the face to everyone that cares and bleeds Hawaii green. It's just like, come on, guys, there's more going on here. We need a little bit of ownership.
Yeah, I hear you. No easy transition out of this conversation, because Hunter and I could probably talk here for about 3 more hours, but we want to keep the sponsors happy. We want to keep our time slot happy. So we need to tell you about our good friends at Xanthicin, the only brand that delivers 3 times more astaxanthin than the competition. Astaxanthin helps with joint and muscle function, with cholesterol and cognitive health. Astaxanthin is even recommended by doctors and pharmacists for its anti-aging qualities. Where can you get it? Well, you can get it at getxantho.com, Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth Kaka'ako, and PharmaCare Hawaii. Again, check out getxantho.com. That's GetZantho.com to learn more. All right, we'll take a little pause. We'll come back with the second half, more of this conversation. By the way, they're also losing 2 assistant coaches, at least, so we should talk about that a little bit as well. Hunter, Jordan with you here on Hawaii Football Now. Second half coming your way.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second half time here on episode 18, Hawaii Football Now. Jordan, Hunter back with you. Hunter, to go along with all of the other swirling uncertainty and guys leaving the program, the high-profile guys, they got a coaching staff to sort of fill out once again for Coach Todd Graham. Offensive line coach Alik Terry reportedly is taking an analyst role at the University of Oregon. Remember, he was a graduate assistant with the Ducks in 2019 and 2020, and he is set to join the brand new staff there in Jake Lanning's first year in charge of the Ducks. So kind of interesting move there, right? Obviously a higher profile program he's got experience with, but it is on a move from an on-field position coaching job at the University of Hawaii to an analyst role with Oregon. Those big time programs, man, they got like analysts for days, and basically helping out with the game planning and really any other kind of role. And then you got wide receivers coach Marcus Davis, hired away by Georgia Southern, and new head coach Clay Helton for basically the same position. Davis is a Florida guy. He played at Auburn, remember, Georgia Southern with their new high profile hire, right, in Clay Helton, but they also did go 3-9 last year. So it's not like this program, is a step up from the University of Hawaii or something like that. But both guys leave after just 1 season. It was an already really inexperienced offensive staff. Both of those guys basically in their first year as position coaches, Terry and Davis, when they took these jobs here in Manoa. But they're now looking at replacing both of those roles for the second time in as many seasons. And they're going to be replacing a ton of talent on that side of the football as well. So you're looking at like a really, really new offensive side of the football, from the coaching staff to the players on the field. Bogram, I would assume, is back as offensive coordinator, but everything under him is real murky at this point. And I don't know how much you want to read into this. I would just say these things happen. Guys take jobs, guys take promotions, guys head back closer to home. The coaching carousel, that's not unique to Hawaii. But what it does present is another really 2 big holes when you're talking about the offensive line and wide receivers coach here for Coach Todd Graham.
Yeah, it's interesting. I decided it whenever Day Hunter, a guy like that, leaves Hawaii to go to the mainland. When you got family on the mainland, it just makes a little bit more sense, especially for coaching staff, guys that have immediate family. They a lot of times have wives and kids. It's going to be a little bit more manageable for them to be a little closer to home, have someone watching the kids, a little bit easier to be near maybe the wife's family as well. Happy wife, happy life. And the life of a college football coach is a hard one. A lot of guys don't see the 60 or 70 hours a week those guys are literally clocking in front of computers, studying film, drawing up strategy to play the other team. I mean, the position coaches' lifestyle, and then even more the GAs. Oh my goodness, I have so much love and respect for those guys for how much work literally goes in behind the scenes. People really don't know. It's a tough life. And with all of this transition, Jordan, it brings up an interesting point that we really are in a new era of college football now. If the transfer portal really is going to be this wild free agency, if you will, at the end of every season, you almost have to approach each season with a clean slate. Teams could literally reinvent themselves year in and year out and bring in a whole bunch of new talent from one year to the next, just because of all of this freedom. And it will be interesting too in the next couple of years when some of the COVID freedom starts to tighten up again with the NCAA. Guys are getting more and more extra years. I mean, it feels like the NCAA is just throwing them out left and right. You get like Oprah, you get a year, and you get a year, and you get a year. It's just happening like crazy. And bringing it back home to us with this Todd Graham era, you always can tell with a new coach, new regime, how good they're going to be in their third year. So looking ahead to 2022 with this coaching staff, everybody wants him gone. We will get a true tell on the caliber of a coaching staff and their skill set in being able to use the guys that they have recruited. With this new offense, new defense now too, it's really an entirely new team this next year. We are going to get a perfect example of what a Todd Graham 100% ran team is going to look like in 2022.
Yeah, that is a really good point, right? I mean, he will have his opportunity to really sort of put his fingerprints on this thing in year 3 of his 5-year contract. A lot of these guys, a lot of the recruits from the previous regime will have matriculated out or, have entered the transfer portal in a lot of these instances. So it will be a lot of his team in his making. And year 3 will be pretty telling. I would agree, and especially for a guy who came in and was hit with COVID right away and all these restrictions and things like that. So that is for sure. As we kind of turn the page here, Hunter, what do you envision moving forward? What would you like to see? Like what are the next few months look like? How do they play out? How should they play out in your mind as Hawaii at some point, right? And again, like maybe more guys will leave, but at some point they've got to be able to turn the page and turn the focus to 2022.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty telling off season for Coach Graham too. Normally in the spring is when our coaches do the most, in the community PR work, if you will, where they're being seen at fundraisers, they're showing up at schools, they're doing this, they're doing that. And, I'm not saying that Coach Graham hasn't done that, because I know that there have been efforts for that, but this is really one of the first springs. Granted, hopefully all of the COVID stuff calms down too in the coming spring, but that will be detrimental for them and their success heading out into this next year, is to show more of an ownership. You can't ride that narrative of we're using Hawaii as a stepping stone to get to the next place for very long and be liked out here. It's just not going to work. We've seen that happen with so many people that come here and use Hawaii for its resources and then leave. It's just not going to work, partner. So that's what I want to see from him. I want to see more, even if it's a little. I understand if you don't have plans to be here long term, you need to invest what you can, because the community deserves it for what we're paying you. You are our coach. That comes with the territory. That's what I am wishing and hoping from that coaching staff into this offseason. And really, with a month and a half, I guess, still remaining in this signing period of high school players coming into college. And Jordan, I'll be the first one to eat my words if we just absolutely kill the transfer portal. We get guys from Power 5 schools left and right that want to come play in the islands that somehow, some way haven't caught a whiff of all of this, of all of the smoke coming from our locker room. I would love to see that. And I would love to put on my student cap again and go to class on the transfer portal, because I think we're all going to be learning a lot in the coming years.
Yeah, it's a two-way portal, right? It isn't a one-way street. Like you can bring in guys, and we've already seen that. The corner from Cal, we've got another Iowa State transfer. Like, hey, look, if that's where this team is turning, and they can bring in talent that'll win football games and connect with the community.
And his coach is so connected.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he's got guys everywhere. So if that turns out to be fruitful, then hey, great. Right. It's just for now, to get to that, it is wading through some pretty murky waters to get to the other shore. And whether or not that is, a grass a little greener on that side of things. So we will see how this all plays out. Any final thoughts on that, Hunter, before we kind of head into the wrap-up portion?
Yeah, I want to try to end us on an optimistic approach that wins can heal everything. If we would have gone into the Hawaii Bowl and beat the snot out of Memphis 54-10 or something like that, even if these guys transferred, we'd be feeling an awful lot different than how we are right now. Even if it would have finished the year at 500, so much could have happened between last week and now if we would have played that game. In the same way, so much can happen between now and next season where we like this guy, and it's no secret that we as an athletic organization can't afford to bring another coach in right now. It may not be our first choice, but this guy has proven that he can bring talent here. We can win football games. We can score points. We've been to 2 consecutive bowl games. You might call one a fluke. I don't necessarily want to use those words because college football is difficult, and 6 wins is 6 wins. So I think we need to be thankful and try to be present with where we're at right now and try to make the best of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And hey, look, that's all you can do going forward, right? If that's totally the current situation is going to continue and the current regime is going to continue, then look, we hope for the best, man. We want to see the program succeed. I know you do as an alum, so we will be monitoring it, and we'll be talking about it every week. And who knows? We don't really know what we're going to talk about next week because everything changes seemingly day to day with this whole situation. So that'll kind of wrap things up for us with the University of Hawaii Talk. Our overtime segment, Hunter, I kind of wanted to get into some of the college football playoff semifinal picks, which will take place this Friday. We did have one comment that came off of the YouTube posting from last week. I just kind of wanted to answer this because our guy Al from VA, which I assume is Virginia, who how do I put this, hasn't necessarily agreed with our takes all the time, but he brought up that did you or I attend the games at Ching? And I just wanted to mention to our buddy Al that we did in fact go to some other home games at Ching Field. I went to 3 of the 5.
Yeah.
I went to one where there was nobody in attendance. I went to the one where they allowed 1,000, and then I went to one where it was full capacity allowed. And I know Hunter was down there for quite a bit of the home games as well.
I was at our buddy Al. I think I was at every home game this year. So
I was going to say, Hunter made it to more than I did.
And some of that, Al, if there was a little bit of, choosing of our words talking about the home game because it was difficult to get everyone down to the games. There was a little bit of sensitivity from our podcast to not maybe gloat that we were down at the games. Not everybody was able to attend those games. So members of the media, we were able to be down there because we're covering the team. But at least I tried to speak with a little bit of sensitivity on behalf of everyone else that wanted to be there but couldn't be. But that's the way that I roll a little bit. And if you're ever out here from Virginia, you'll love the new complex at Ching Field, my man.
It really is cool. It's a cool game day environment, and I think it's going to get better. I don't know if it's the permanent solution, but for the time being, it's a great fan experience. I mean, you're really close to the field, right? There's no bad seat at Ching. That is for sure. Even if you're sitting like at the top of some of those end zone bleachers
Totally.
on the Diamond Head side, so it'll be pretty cool. All right, overtime segment here, Hunter. Who you got? Bama, Cincy in one semi, Michigan and UGA in the other semifinal. Some pretty cool matchups. I mean, I hope Cincinnati shocks everybody and wins the whole thing, but I'm going to say that that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm pulling for Cincy so bad. The only way you can ever beat a Bama team, the same way you can ever only beat a Belichick Patriot team, is to play perfectly sound football. You can't turn the ball over one time against these guys. They're bigger, they're faster. A lot of ways they're better than you, and you need those little plays to kind of roll your way. It was the same way with us against Fresno State. We needed 6 picks to just barely squeak by against them. I don't see it happening, although that Ritter quarterback from Cincinnati can sure spin the rock. I would love to see them get something done against them. I'm going to remain neutral in that game. I'm really pulling for the Wolverines to get it done against Georgia. I think that game's going to be low scoring. Both those teams are more defensive heavy than anything else. I'm predicting like a 13-10 win from Michigan. They're going to the Natty, and they'll probably play Alabama.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree. I think Bama's going to win the other semifinal. It'll be fun. I don't love that they play them on New Year's Eve as opposed to New Year's Day. I get why, like the Rose Bowl is the king and all these kinds of things. They got to make sure that, the contractually and how this all works and whatnot. But yeah, I'd much rather it be on New Year's Day as opposed to New Year's Eve, but it is what it is. At least here in Hawaii, they're earlier, right? It's not like these things are going right up to midnight and nobody's paying attention or something like that. But it should be a lot of fun. The playoff is always tight. Yeah, hopefully we get some good games. I hope we get some good games. The semis in particular over the history of the playoff, they have been great games. Like, it's been a lot of blowouts in this thing. So we'll see how it all plays out.
The Power Five needs that game to be close. This is our first opportunity to really show the group of, for the group of 5, I should say, it's their opportunity to show that they belong in a game like this when they're undefeated. And so I would love if it came down to 1 or 2 scores in the fourth quarter against Alabama, because it would just do so much for recruits, for coaching, just for evening of power across the world of college football. If Cincy can keep it close.
That would be awesome. That really would be awesome. That'd be a lot of fun and throw a wrench into this whole college football playoff season once more. There have been a whole lot of wrenches thrown at the University of Hawaii this year. We will see if they can finally kind of turn the page into the next chapter of things. But something tells me that it's not done just yet, because that's just the way that the season has played out. We do know one thing: no more games for the University of Hawaii this season. And we will wish everybody a happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Hunter. Happy New Year to our guy, Jaron, as well, on the controls of this podcast. This has been Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthison. You can hit me up on Twitter at Jordan Helly, at allaroundath. You can find Hunter there. Always feel free to leave us a line, drop us a line, leave us a comment via Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube as well, where these recordings are posted. And we wish everybody a happy rest of their holidays and a fruitful New Year as well. We'll see you next week. Aloha, everybody.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helly and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.